Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, I just want to talk a little bit more about General Conference. I had one realization. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in the live streams, but not much. The cows are coming over because we're about to feed them. Come on, fatties. Got stuff starting to grow, so I guess it's getting about that time to mow. Anyway, I was thinking about President Eyring's talk. Or no, not President Eyring. President Oak's talk. Because it was just so unusual. The whole talk was just basically quoting the Savior in the scriptures. And so essentially what you had is you had Christ talking at General Conference. That's really what happened. That talk really was Christ talking at General Conference, because very little was said that was unique to President Oaks.
Go outside and watch them come out the door?
Yeah. So guys, today's going to be the first day that we let these guys out to free range. We're probably going to do it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's to help keep them from going too far. We can't just let them do it every day, so I think... Here, go ahead and open it.
Well, I want you to go out so you can film them coming out the door.
All right, here we go. Will you open it for me real quick? There goes one. Yay! Freedom! Let's watch them come out. Are the rest of them coming?
I don't know. They need water really bad, so...
Come on, you guys. You can come out now. So, think about it this way. We've talked before on the channel how it feels like the last two conferences, not this last one, but the two in 2022. It felt like, essentially, the Second Coming was very close, based on how the conferences ended, specifically how President Nelson ended those conferences. So, for example, the April 2022 conference, he ended on a scripture that specifically talks about us being, about the last days and the Lord's people, and how he would be our king, right? And he said, may we be worthy of the Lord, essentially. And then, in the October 2022 conference, I feel like it was even more specific, because he called on us to be the people of the Second Coming. A people that are able and ready and worthy. And then he called on us to be the people of the Second Coming. First time that anything like that has happened. Right? And then in the Christmas devotional, Elder Anderson, I think, gave us a pretty big hint as to the prophet knowing about the Second Coming and when it's going to happen. Your Jenica's doing the scratch.
Oh, I want them to see.
Well, just spread it. They'll figure it out. So, we know that the prophet will know when the Second Coming is happening. We know that because Joseph Smith said so. The prophet will know. And in the Christmas devotional, Elder Anderson was talking about when Christ came the first time, but it was pretty clear that he was likening it to our own time and the Second Coming. And he pointed out how basically no one really knew until the day before Christ... Oh my gosh. The day before Christ came. Right? He talked about Nephi, how Nephi didn't find out until the day before. And he explained why. He explained it was because it's a test. Because you're supposed to be doing what's right all the way up until the end. right? But also at the same time, we know that, and I think he mentioned this in his talk, it's been a little while now, so I kind of forgot, but we know that Samuel the Lamanite gave the Nephites a 5-year warning. But obviously, they didn't know exactly what day, just in general, that it was going to be 5 years later. So it makes me think that something similar has happened with us, with the church. Maybe not with us as members of the church, but maybe the general authorities, that President Nelson, maybe for some time, has known. Maybe there's been like a 10-year warning. Maybe there's been a 5-year warning. Maybe there's been a 3-year warning. And so, thinking about this last conference, okay, instead of just like filming this overflowing, I guess I better. It's okay. Are you getting?
Wait, this one has a crack in it.
Oh my gosh!
Feed it to the chickens.
You guys gonna eat that? Yep.
This is from a few days.
Yeah, it's a couple days because we didn't go out there yesterday because it was Sunday. Cool. Do you want to grab one of the tablets to put in there?
Another one?
Yeah. When was the last time that we did it?
Just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, grab one because I think you're supposed to do one every week or something. Oh. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna come over here. Okay, so with that in mind, okay, and also in mind what Bruce R. McConkie said about the rising generation that Joseph Smith was referring to, and how we've equated that to President Nelson, because President Nelson is part of that generation according to Bruce R. McConkie's calculations. So, if President Nelson knew the roundabout time that the second coming was going to happen, that it very well could have happened last year, then it makes sense that that's how he, how they did those conferences and what was said, and so on and so forth. Okay, and therefore potentially the teary goodbye and God be with you till we meet again at the end of the October General Conference. Well, we're still here. We had another conference, and maybe the Lord is giving us more time. He's being very generous and giving people more time to repent and change their ways, right? And so that kind of makes sense why this conference played out the way that it did. If you're the leaders of the church, it's like, okay, we said everything that we needed to say in October 2022. We called on the people to be the people of the second coming. We told them to wear the wedding garment. We made it pretty clear. And then we reached this general conference. It's like, okay, this is pretty much it. So at this point, there's nothing else to say. Just we need to reiterate that the church needs to become Zion. Everyone needs to become one of heart, like big time. We need to get rid of contention. These are. Move out of the way. The chickens are trying to come out of the coop. Oh. Sorry to interrupt. That's okay. And so therefore, just like the big emphasis on avoiding contention and becoming a Zion people, talking about Enoch and the city of Enoch because they're going to be joining with us soon, right? President Nelson's talk was a pretty sharp rebuke, I think, of everybody, everyone that's been contentious and how we need to do better. I think you would probably expect that for the last conference before the second coming. And when I say second coming, I simply mean whatever the next big thing is for us, whether it's us coming with Christ to the Jews. It's very possible that war is going to break out this year with Israel and neighboring countries, including Iran. So basically just focusing on the things that we need to do and the people we need to become. And like, this is the last chance, And that's why I think President Nelson repeated, now is the time to stop doing the silent treatment. Now is the time to, do this and stop doing that. I want to go through, I wish I had the talks right now so I could review exactly what he said, but I know he said now is the time at least like 4 or 5 times, if not more. So, and then talking about Easter, you know, and Palm Sunday and Ash Wednesday and Holy Week and all that stuff, it makes sense that they're preparing that for the millennium, I would assume. You know, it's been appropriate, I think. I think it's been very appropriate that Christmas has been the main holiday, you know, on this side of the millennium. But now that the resurrected Christ is going to be here, and we're leveling up to a higher, holier way, and as I think the church anticipates many Christians to join the church at the time of the second coming, then it all makes sense that we would change the focus. We would now move on past his first coming. It's just like how, you know, before his first coming, the big thing was the Exodus and God leading Israel out of Egypt. And rightly so. That was like the big thing to remember, focus on. Then when Christ came, the next thing was the coming of the Messiah. Because that's what it was all about. All the Jewish feast days and everything. So it would make sense that from the time of Christ until now, we would mainly focus on or mainly celebrate his first coming. So now that we're at the time of the second coming, to me, it makes a lot of sense that now we would shift our focus to not when he came the first time, but the next phase, which was his resurrection, which initiates the resurrection of everybody else. Now, there have been a number of people that have been resurrected already. We read that in the scriptures. We've read different quotes from, I can't remember who, but saying that, yeah, most likely there's been other people resurrected. Come over here. It's really bright, sunny day. There's one of our roosters right there, the Samani cross. I think they're all happy to be outside. So, so now that we're at the millennium, or really close to the second coming in the millennium, it would make sense that yet again we would shift once more, now focusing primarily on the resurrection, because a large number of people are about to be resurrected. And really, we should be focusing on the most important event in human history, the atonement, which, anyway, I guess there's like a whole lot more that you could say about that, but hopefully I'm making myself clear. So I guess the conclusions that I've come to from this general conference is that I think everything that needed to be said was done in 2022, including calling on us to be the people of the second coming, among other things. And that this last conference is kind of like, just like a last minute, this is the last chance, final warning. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe we're going to go for a few more years, okay? But I'm just kind of playing out this scenario in my mind. And I feel like it makes a lot of sense. I really do. I really do. So anyway, I would love... Dude, where are you going? Don't go off the property. I'm going to come over here and just kind of see if I can scare him back. Grass is starting to green... oh my gosh, can I talk today? Grass is starting to grow again. I don't know if you can see it very well in the video, but I'm seeing some green blades of grass. Hey, you. Like, it's okay that you come outside in free range, but don't be going over to the neighbor's property. And don't go that way. And don't go that way. Go back. I'm really hoping that we don't lose any chickens. I doubt that we will, but there's always the chance. We've had it happen before. You know, we don't have our electric fence up and running anymore. We've decided to take it down. The main reason that we had it up was because we wanted to do the garden back in that area, so we needed to keep the cows out. But we also had it to try and like keep the chickens in the pasture area, and it did work for the most part. But over time, they just kind of get more and more daring, and then they just aren't afraid of it at all, and then they just go all over the place. So that's why we're gonna only let them out like 3 times a week, because I guess when you keep them in, like say that they start wandering too far from the coop, I guess what you're supposed to do is you keep them in the coop for about a week, and then it's like it, you know, resets them, so to speak. And then they stop wandering so far. So I figure if we just let them out a few times a week, you know, 3, maybe 4 times a week, maybe that'll work. So we'll give that a try. So yeah, that's what I think about this general conference. There's like so many things I want to go over, but I'm gonna have to wait until the talks come out. I want to go over again what President Oaks said, you know, because he carefully chose what to share that the Savior said. Maybe the Savior himself directed President Oaks to share those things. But I feel like that was kind of an ominous warning in itself, that basically Christ took center stage. He spoke first in the Sunday afternoon session. That was Christ. He spoke. Hey guys, how you doing? Ew, gross. You know, I better close the pens because I don't want them to go in the chicken coop. Give me just a second here. Okay, we'll close this. And then we'll go over here. We'll close this one. And that's just how we'll do it. So I don't know, do you guys feel the same way at all? Like, does any of this resonate with you? Do you have different ideas? Do any of you have different ideas about what happened, what we witnessed? I'm not so sure that there's ever been a conference talk given like President Oaks. Hey. I don't know that there's ever been a talk where, like, the entire thing was essentially him reading what Christ said in the scriptures. That was like his entire talk, with the exception of him kind of giving like context and reference and stuff like that. That was his talk. It was just Jesus Christ speaking. And so, you know, one possibility is that he was inspired. Maybe he received a visit and Christ wanted him to, you know, before his coming to the saints in New Jerusalem or whatever, he wanted to give his own sermon to us, reminding us what he expects us to be. You know, reminding us what he's already told us and what the standards are and what he expects of us, coming from his own words. That's why I think it's kind of serious, especially when you take that in. Christ telling us, reminding us what he wants us to do and who he wants us to be and what he's taught us. And then couple that with everything that was said during conference, all the warnings, talking about the 10 virgins, right? Don't come up on me. That's right. I'm the boss around here. He understands that. Him, not so much. He's always testing me. But I think there were 2 times in conference where this idea of separation was emphasized. One was, I believe it was Elder Rasband's talk, him talking about the parable of the 10 virgins. And then I think it was one of the 70 that quoted President Nelson from the Liahona of April 2020. I think it was the April 2020 Liahona. President Nelson said, the time is coming when those who obey the commandments of the Lord are going to be separated from those that don't. So there were 2 pretty strong, explicit things said during conference about the separation. So I think that that's pretty telling as well. Looks like pretty much all the chickens are just kind of hanging out in this area, which is good. I don't know if that other rooster came back or not. There's one of them, but that's the other Samani rooster. I still need to fix this wet area. I gotta buy a repair kit for that. I'm really hoping that I don't have to dig down to the bottom of it. I think all I need to do is buy a repair kit and replace the plunger that's at the bottom of that pipe. It's basically just like a stopper to stop the water. I've been putting it off for so long. I think I'll probably try and fix it this month, but like I always say that. Yeah. That's why it's all muddy right here, because there's a leak. It hasn't like shown up on our water bill. This is city water. So I think because of that, I'm just like a little bit okay putting it off, but it's really been bothering me for a while. And I think what happened is we had a Jersey bull. He's not with us anymore. We sold him. But he put his head in between there just to like scratch his neck, which pushed the hydrant over to the left. And I think it kind of messed up the plunger at the bottom to where it's not fully stopping. I mean, as you can see, there's no water dripping up here. But at the bottom, I think there might be somewhere. I don't know. We're just going to have to play around with it. And I just hope it's not too hard of a fix or too expensive. Well, I don't think it'll be expensive, but I hope it won't be too hard of a fix. Oh, there he is. That's the Samani that went out there and then over there. Good. So he's back. Good. And then there's the other Samani. He's the more beta male. But yeah. So this is good. I'm trying to think, was there anything else about this conference? The number of temples announced was only 15. So April of last year, it was 17. And then after that, in October, it was 18. And now it's come down to 15. So, and like I said, the one that kind of stands out to me the most is the Indonesia temple, because it's a predominantly Muslim country. If you didn't see the live stream, about 10% of Indonesia is Christian. And we do have a number of meeting houses on one of the islands. And then there's like another island or two that has another meeting house. But Indonesia is just one of those places that I never really saw a temple coming to for a long time. We need to take these stupid fly traps down. I mean, obviously it helped a little bit. You see all the flies, but that's from last year. And that's another thing. I need to get this all dried up, because that's going to add to flies, popping up. So that was pretty incredible. The other thing also is the number of times they spoke about Enoch in New Jerusalem, because that was another thing. So they want us to be Zion in the sense that they want us to be one of heart, one of mind, put away contention. But they were also talking a lot about the literal center place, Zion, the New Jerusalem, the center place in Jackson County, Missouri. So I'm really wanting to dig into the talks and look at the footnotes, look at the scriptures that were cited. There's just a lot. There's a lot to look into with this conference. A lot. I didn't really expect anything like what they said about Easter, making that the main holiday, because I've never heard anything like that in the church. Like that's like a, even though there weren't like big changes to the church, like a new program, a new reorganization, I think that this was yet another big thing, elevating Easter to the level of Christmas. It kind of, I never would have expected it at all. And I think they're being serious about it. And imagine this. I was talking to Jenica about this yesterday. We were doing a post-conference drive, a sunset drive. And this year, April 6th falls on the first day of Passover. Okay. I don't know if that's significant. I don't know if that's when Christ is going to come. But imagine that he does come at that time, whether to us or to the Jews or whatever. Now, think about this. We go forward a few days or even a month or two or something like that. Christ comes, and then we'll have already been instructed to shift the focus to Easter, And then we'll look back and it'll probably make a whole lot more sense. Like, oh, yep, we are now in a completely new world. Christ is here. We're seeing the resurrected Christ. It is time to move on to, well, not move on, but phase up. Higher, holier way. Look in the salt lick. It doesn't look like they've really gone for the mineral lick. I can't remember what this blue one was called. I think it was like something like cobalt iodized sodium. I can't remember. But that one's just sodium, that white one. These are just like supplements for like whatever nutrients and stuff they don't get from the pasture and stuff. So, and then the other thing that we talked about in one of the live streams, if you didn't catch it, we were talking about the fact that as we observe Holy Week, when you have all these Christians that join the church, they're going to feel more at home. The ones that currently observe these holy days, like Good Friday, Ash Wednesday, Palm Sunday, Holy Week, right? So I feel like that's just another thing that's going to help the transition of Christians that decide to join our church at the time of the second coming. We talked about in one of the live streams, the fact that it was Elder Renlund who explicitly talked about the temple covenants. And unless I missed it, in my lifetime, I don't think that they've ever been talked about openly like that. Like, of course we talk about the temple covenants because like the law of consecration, right? The law of sacrifice, things like that. Those are just kind of general concepts in the church anyway. But as far as like naming the actual temple covenants, I think that's important because just like the temple changes that took place on February 7th, it makes it easier for new people as they're going to the temple to understand what they're covenanting to do. So up to this point, it maybe wasn't as needed, okay? But when we have a huge group of people at the beginning of the millennium, say it's 1 billion, say it's 2 billion people, and most of them being Christians, well, with so many new people, with so many questions, we need to try and answer as many of those questions as soon as possible. We can't do things the way that we did before, I don't think. So what I could imagine, just like when Jeffrey R. Holland in the last conference, October 2022, when he gave his talk about the cross, I could see future manuals of the church drawing from these conference talks that have just been given. So, for example, you have, say they'll put out a new temple prep manual. Well, I would imagine that they would include what Elder Renlund just said about the temple, talking about the covenants. I could see a section in that booklet being like, okay, temple covenants. Here are the covenants. This is what Elder Renlund said in the April 2023 General Conference. Please study this as you prepare for the temple, because these are the covenants that you'll be making, right? And then with the cross, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a new booklet, pamphlet, something akin to the Gospel Principles Manual that's geared toward new members of the church. Maybe like a revamp of that, answering even more questions that other Christians would have as they join the church, including, why doesn't our church use the cross? And so, say that they do a new Gospel Principles Manual, they could add additional chapters in there and have one about the cross and include what Jeffrey R. Holland said about the cross, and maybe others before that time. Because I know that there have been others that have commented on the cross. So you see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these talks, I feel like they're being given so that, like, they're doing the work right now in order to prepare to answer those questions in the future of all these new members, and have it officially said in General Conference, so that it's not just like in a manual and you don't really know who's saying it. It's just kind of like coming from the manual. I feel like there's a lot more power if it's quoted from General Conference. So it's really exciting to see. I know that there were some people concerned about what President Eyring said in his talk. I think it was the last talk of the Sunday or the Saturday morning session. And he said something to the effect of like future generations preparing for the second coming. I would hold off on that, because if he's meaning to say that the second coming is not going to come for a few generations, that would seem to be pretty much in contradiction to so many other quotes from other general authorities, including himself in the Sisters of Zion talk. So I think that might be one of those things that we've misinterpreted, similar to when Boyd K. Packer was talking about the need to continue living your life. Okay, he talked about how in his time, World War II, I think it was just starting up, and he was worried about, like, should I even get married? Do I need to do this or that? It feels like the world is ending. And the answer is no. Keep living your life. Keep doing what you need to do. There's still going to be marriage and whatever. And then he talked about the future. He talked about, some people worry about the second coming and how life is going to change and, things like this. No, you're still going to have children, and they're going to have children, and you're still going to live life. Well, there were people that took what he said to mean that the second coming was not going to happen, like, for a long time. That not even your children's children's children are going to be around for the second coming. And that's not what he was saying at all. And yet, and I actually have proof that people took it to mean that, because there was a Salt Lake Tribune article that said, LDS Apostle says that second coming isn't even close. And that's not what he said. And so I wouldn't be surprised if what President Eyring said is maybe something similar. The way that he worded it, maybe it kind of sounded on the first hearing it sounded like he was saying, oh no, generations from now, we need to work on those generations for the second coming. No, I don't think that's what he was saying. But we'll just wait for the talks to come out on the church website, and then we'll look at that even closer. President Nelson's talk was really... Okay, how do I describe this? I think we're used to President Nelson being really upbeat, spiritual, optimistic. He usually likes to talk in a positive tone. And not that his talk wasn't when he was talking about contention, but it was, I feel like it was one of the few times that he's really kind of like chastised the church, that he's given out a very serious warning. Like, he's given serious warnings before. You know, for example, when he talked about the need to use the correct name of the church, that kind of felt more in the tone of like, guys, we need to do better on this, right? But out of all of his talks that he's given, that I've ever heard, this one has felt like the most, not severe, well, maybe severe, the most like, hey guys, we need to make a change, you know? And I feel like I know that because during the live streams, many of you, including myself, kind of like pointed the finger to ourselves and were like, is he talking about me? Is it me? Well, the answer is it's all of us. Maybe some more than others, frankly, but all of us need to work on avoiding contention. And the fact that he gave such a talk like that makes me feel like, you know, we're kind of up against, we're between a rock and a hard place as far as like the second coming. It's like, it's happening. It's time to buckle up, fix yourself, do what you need to do, and stop having people walk on eggshells around you. Stop doing the silent treatment. All of which are things that describe toxic people, you know, narcissists, essentially. Man, I can't wait to read that talk just to remember exactly what he said. But like I said, he said, now is the time, numerous times. Whereas in the April 2022 General Conference, he gave a talk that was called, Now is the Time. So it was said basically like once during that conference, but this conference, he said it multiple times. And I would take that to mean that, wow, this is it. You know? Now, is it going to be it? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. If we have more time, say that we have more years ahead of us before the second coming, then great. You know, we know how to find peace in our lives. They talked all about how to have peace in this troubled world. I'm sure that you have goals in life that you would like to accomplish that, you know, go along with this current world that we live in, whether they're financial goals or career or something like that. I usually don't talk in those terms, but as long as you're not like solely focused on those things, I think you're good. But, you know, you have to turn everything into a win-win situation. So if we have to wait a few years, then find the ways that that's a good thing for you. You know, the good things in your life will continue. Maybe they'll even get better. We'll get to witness more of the craziness and just have those experiences to mark our lives for years to come. You know, stories that we'll be able to tell our children that we were here to witness in our lifetime. One of which would be the pandemic, for example. Because our children and grandchildren of the millennium, they're not going to experience anything like that. That's part of this crazy stage of Earth's history. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering what they're doing, they're all taking dirt baths. My understanding, and maybe if any of you know more about chickens than I do, I think that they do this because it helps to keep just different things like lice and mites and stuff like that off. Doing dirt baths. This is really cute, watching them do this. I love it when they take dirt baths. Oh, I might point out, as you can see, some of you were a little concerned when we introduced the new chickens to the flock, because whenever you do that, it never fails. There's always fighting that takes place right off the bat. And then there's also concern about potential sickness or germs that the new chickens are bringing into the flock. In our case, we just went ahead and we threw them in. We've done it before, and so far we've been lucky. It's maybe not the most responsible thing, but we've never had chickens die because of disease, because of new chickens. And usually the fighting just goes on for maybe like a day or two. And in our case, we have a really big coop, which means that as they're fighting, as they're like establishing the pecking order, they have lots of places that they can hide. They can go inside these nesting boxes. They can go behind the nesting boxes. They can go up on these shelves, and they do. They go up there. They go up there. They can go on the roosting bars, hide behind there, go up on those shelves over there, go to those nesting boxes. So, it's kind of hot. We have a heating lamp, and I wish Jenica wouldn't have bought that. We might put, I think we're going to get some regular lamps or light bulbs, and take that out and just put this up in the winter time. But anyway, and this is our newest guy. He's a rooster. I know that he looks like a walking ball of lint or wig or a puke or a hairball or something like that, but no, it's a rooster. His breed is called a silky. So we have him. We also have this bantam rooster, which I actually didn't want. In the picture, I wasn't sure if he was a bantam or not. He turned out to be a bantam, but we weren't going to say no because we drove all the way out there to get him. So now we're just going to keep him. Bantams are basically dwarf chickens. Look at that guy. Hello. Bye. Yeah, so anyway, it was a very interesting conference, and I have the feeling that we have only scratched the surface of what was really said. I feel like there was a lot more going on, and as is usually the case, we're just going to have to go back and kind of study it and think about the implications of everything that they said. And then we're just going to have to watch these next 6 months. I'm not promising anything, neither are they, but it seems pretty clear that if there was ever a time to fix ourselves, this would be that time. And specifically, if there was ever a time to build Zion, meaning the center place, Jackson County, Missouri, that now is the time to fix ourselves so that we can do that. That was specifically brought up, how the early saints, the reason why they weren't able to build the center place is because there was too much contention and division among them. Interestingly, the Jews, they feel like that's the reason that they were exiled from Israel and from Jerusalem by the Romans, which we know that really probably the main reason would be because they rejected Christ. But another part of that could be the culture of division that there was at that time as well. But the main reason, of course, would be because they rejected Christ. So that's kind of a similar thing that we may have with them when it comes to building New Jerusalem. And hopefully now is that time where we can go ahead and do that. So we'll just have to wait and see. I sure would appreciate all you guys' notes, anything that you noticed that we haven't talked about yet, whether it was in this video or the past live streams. If you noticed anything, please say something about it. Put it in the comments. You can also email me. I can't promise that I'll get to your emails or your comments because there's many, many, many of you, but I do my best. And yeah. What's that guy doing? It looks like he's like dead. Hey, are you feeling okay? Are you having like heat stroke right now? No? Sorry, I just interrupted, I guess. Okay, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, or send me an email. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.